I've been wanting to review Foxhole for absolutely ages. I know it's not that new a game, with it being released in 2017 and it recently had an update with a DLC, but one of the unfortunate things of game releases is the fact that there is generally only one given top dog at a time. And it's because of this mechanic it means that often there are great games that tend to get swallowed up in other releases. And it's my honest view that Foxhole is one of these. So the game was released in 2017 and it's developed by the team Siege Camp. And at its heart it is a sandbox war game. It is kind of a mixture between an MMO and an ARPG, and it's set in kind of an alt universe of World War II. One of the things I really want to emphasize before we get going, this game puts the M in massively multiplayer. It is huge. The scale on it is just ginormous. Yet you feel like you are part of so much going on at any given time. So how it works is that you've got two sides. You've got the Wardens and you've got the Colonials. And you essentially play a soldier in one of those given armies. Now there are absolutely tons and tons of things about this game and I probably won't have time to cover them all, but I'm going to talk about the core concepts and just the reasons why I'm really enjoying it, and I think more importantly why you would enjoy it as well. So imagine you had a game like StarCraft, for example, or another strategy based game, and you played the role of one unit. That is how the experience of Foxhole works. So each game is based around a war that both sides are involved in. But unlike your standard strategy games, these wars are not hours or minutes or even days. They are weeks long, sometimes lasting multiple months. The game was released in 2017 and we are only now on just War 80. So we'll start off with a very high level view of the game, and this is the fact that it runs very similarly to a strategy game. So you have your basic resources. These resources are needed to build weapons and vehicles, your buildings, your defenses, what you need to push through to win the war. And this is where the magic of the sandbox comes in, because you can wear as many hats as you can fit on your head. Want to be involved in engineering, logistics, base building, tank commanding, quartermastering, scouting, you name it, make up the role, you can do it in this game. Sure, there are roles that you can assign to yourself that relate to kind of an official military structure, but at the end of the day, you can play the game how you want to go about it. And this is where the magic comes in, because there is no questing system, it's just your imagination. You want to make up a task that you want to do, then go ahead and do it. And that's why I found it so much fun. One minute I was delivering logistics to the front line, the next minute I'm a ninja commando on a boat doing backline operations against the enemy's supply chains. Don't like that? I got my pom-poms out and was singing folk songs to the guys at the front line to keep up morale. The point I'm trying to make is that you can just do absolutely anything you want, and it's just got such a great framework for you to do it. Now the last thing I want to touch on before we go into more specific game mechanics is the community. Now I'm in my mid-30s, I'm a very busy individual with family, work and various YouTube things, and I have very limited time to kind of go out and socialize, or at least it's, a very specific segment of time. As a result, I don't always find it easy to go out and make friends and get involved with something and have people who are friendly and enjoyable around me. Foxhole absolutely blew me away with just how friendly and welcoming and chill everyone was. It's such a rambunctious mix of awesome personalities and individuals, people welcoming you. I don't know if it's the fact that everyone is just working towards a common goal or whatever, but it just worked and it was very, very welcoming. In the 2 weeks before I made this review, I had made a whole plethora of friends and just people that I get on with and now do things on a regular basis. And if I was to relate it to something similar, I would say the WoW vanilla days, where community was so core and key and there was just a plethora of it, and everyone was talking to everyone and making great friendships. Now you'll read on the Steam reviews that there are some individuals who are a bit unsavory. Unfortunately, there are always individuals who are a little bit less than pleasant, but I assure you, I have had nothing but positive experiences so far and I am extremely grateful for it. So if you've made it this far into the video, I'm going to talk about some game mechanics now and just a basic understanding of how everything works. So it is a top-down shooter and very similar to an ARPG. That being said, there are no personal character stats in this game and there is no leveling in a way that will make your power level increase, at least not from a non-social point of view. Your character comes with a whole plethora of slots. You have a main weapon, you have a secondary weapon, you have a tertiary weapon, which is usually some sort of utility slot. You have a slot for communication tools, which you can use radio systems for scouting and scanning. You have a slot for a gas mask if the enemies are using chemicals. And there's also a slot for melee-based weapons, which, as far as I can see, there is only one at the moment, which is a bayonet. The movement is simple enough. It's WASD, and you use your mouse to scout around on a 360 plane. If you right-click, you will go into an aim mode, and there are various movement abilities. There's a crouch, there's prone, and there's also shift to run. Now, while there are some arcadey elements to the fighting, what stops it from being purely arcade is the aiming system. So there is a system, I guess we'll call it zeroing. Basically, it means that the more mobile you are, the higher the chance you have to miss your opponent. And this is reflected in the crosshair, because when you're moving, it is very wide. And when you crouch, for example, or you go prone and stay still for a moment, it narrows in till it's quite a tight crosshair. So in a nutshell, if you're running around like Rambo and trying to fire a long distance, you're not going to hit very much. As well as a Z-axis, there's also an X and Y-axis that the game works in, so when you're firing there are height levels that you have to take into account. This, however, is reflected in the aiming system, and for example, if your cursor is blocked, then it will show red and show you that you can't shoot this person. There is also a cover system, which is reflected by a small shield at the bottom of your character. The more cover you have, the less chance you have of being hit, and this is where the bunkers and the trenches and the foxholes come really in handy, because obviously being in cover means that you're less likely to get hit. I think it's also important to mention that your character is basically a very fragile egg running on a battlefield. At most, your character will survive between 1 and 3 hits. And often you'll find yourself getting wounded critically, so you end up bleeding and you need to bandage yourself or have a medic come heal you. And this is probably worth mentioning where the class system comes in once again. So your characters have varying different slots and you can hold different weapons in them. Some engineer weapons are primary weapons, such as a mallet, which you need to harvest resources. Alternatively, if you want to be a medic, then the bag that you need to resurrect people is a primary slot item. Now, before you think you can carry every item and just do all the jobs at once, there is a system stopping you, and that's the weight system. There is a limit to how much your character can carry at any given time, and if you are overloaded or you start meeting certain weight criteria, it slows your character down. And in instances where you want to be as nimble and as fast as possible, this can be quite the hindrance. So while there may be instances where you want to carry as much as possible, for example if you're salvage mining, there's also instances where you want to be carrying nothing at all, so it's really important to think about what kind of loadouts you want to take with you. Generally, the gist is the more powerful the weapon or the more gear you have, the slower you're going to be. Now, supporting you in your given role that you make for yourself, there are a huge amount of tools and weapons and vehicles. Now, I could talk about these all day, and if you enjoy this video, I'll probably go on to make further videos about it. But for now, I'll say there are lots of assault vehicles that will suit various different playstyles. So for example, if you want to be someone who sits back and shoots long range, there are mortar tanks. Alternatively, there are small, more nimble tanks, which are better against infantry, such as tankettes or half-tracks. Or lastly, there are the big meaty tanks which require multiple crew to team and maneuver, which also goes into my last point. This is a game that's built around working as a team. And I know that term is very cliche and you're always taken with a pinch of salt and tongue in cheek, but I promise you, not only does it make the experience 10 times better, but it also means that using the tools are 10 times more effective. Take artillery for example, it requires a 3-man team. 2 of you will be maneuvering it and changing the distance or the turn angle of the cannon, while you have a spotter who will be working out what the angle is and also how far the cannon has to fire. Because there are a whole different set of variables that can change the way that a shell falls. For example, there's weather, the enemy may be moving, or it might just not be the correct target to hit. And it's these moments that allow you to really create great experiences with others and ultimately possibly making great friendships with people. Now, I appreciate I have been talking for quite some time now, so I'm going to leave the video there. If you've enjoyed this and you want me to go on and explain some more details, and let me know in the comments below, and I'll put out some more videos on the more deeper mechanics of the game and other things you may enjoy. But for now, I hope everyone's well. I hope you enjoyed this review. Check this game out. It is on £20. It's on Steam, and I think you'll really enjoy it. And if you do, let me know in the comments below. Maybe we can team up. I'm currently on Shard 2 playing for the Colonials. And yeah, I hope everyone's well. Stay healthy, and I'll be back with more news and reviews soon.